Hey guys, Ponce here on the PvE, here to explain everything you need to know about the new Nexus Siege gameplay mode. Now, the absolute basics, before we get into more specific stuff, based on the sides, the game is split up into two phases. There is the attacking or sieging side, and then there is the defending side. Both teams will be able to play both sides, regardless of the outcome of each individual phase. But the attacking or sieging side, obviously, their objective is to take and destroy, or rather, I suppose, just destroy the enemy Nexus. As you can see, the map is cut in half, so the blue side that we're on over here, you just simply don't use this side of the map. No one has access to it. You can't get in there. Now, there's a time limit. As you can see, this is ticking down here. You start with 20 minutes, so I'm starting on the attacking side. We have 20 minutes to destroy the Nexus. Typically, you will destroy the Nexus. The attacking side just has this big advantage in terms of just actually winning. So the idea is to take it and do it as quickly as possible, and then the sides switch. As you can see, also there's an accelerated money and gold system thing going on here. So you just passively gain gold and EXP. You don't have to do anything. There's no CSing. You don't worry about that. I'm pretty sure there's no like EXP soaking. You just get it at the same rate. You don't even have to be there to get minion EXP or anything like that. Aside from that, there is an additional currency type called crystal shards. Now, in theory, the offense or attacking or siege, whatever you want to call them, side has these things, are supposed to have these things called crystal generators. But as of the time of making this video, these aren't implemented yet, or they've just axed this idea or whatever. But you just kind of gain this stuff passively and for killing people. Which you can use to buy a bunch of interesting stuff like Siege Ballista, Vanguard Banner, Shielding Totem, and Portal Pad. So I'll go show you guys what these things do right now. First, we're going to just warp over here with the Siege Warp Trinket. Incidentally, once you're out here, you can't use it anymore. So this gets swapped with a Seer Stone. So it's just like a Vision Trinket. Now, to show you what these guys do, first off, the Siege Ballista. This can only be placed in range of a turret. So I can't like place it all the way over here because it just wouldn't do anything. See, it's just telling me, can't do it, can't do it. But if I place it right here, it's going to be able to target this turret like that, and it's going to start firing on it for free damage. Now, all the turrets do have shields. As you can see, well, does this one have a shield on it? Yeah, see, this one still has a shield on it, which regenerates really quickly once it goes out of combat. But the Ballista will bypass that. I can also put down this thing here. I believe that one was a, what was that? I think that was the Vanguard. Yeah, that one doesn't do anything, I don't think, for siege minions. But had I placed that thing over there, it basically would have buffed the minions. Now let's go back here. I can back. So as you can see, it destroyed the tower, and Siege Ballista, since it needs to be in range of an actual tower, once it destroys the tower, it just dies. I got a couple more things to buy here. Oh, I never placed the port pad. Oh, no, I bought one. Never bought one. Never mind. So let's buy the shield totem. Actually, shield totem won't do anything. No, yeah, well, never mind. So you can refund this stuff. So I'm going to buy a port pad, let's buy a shield totem, and then I'm going to go all the way over here. Incidentally, you can teleport to anywhere in this blue circle here, so I could have teleported at the edge to save time if I really wanted to, but whatever. So port pad is basically sort of a deployable version of this teleporting zone. I can just put that right there, and when I go back to base and get access to the teleport thing again, I can just teleport anywhere here. Now you place this really well, like at the edge of terrain or something, you can just port outside of it. So it's pretty safe there, and then it's like that. Now deploy shield totem. This thing gives a shield to deployables. So it should give a shield. Yeah, see, there we go. This acts as sort of like the HP on these deployables acts a lot like wards. So as you can see, it has 3 hits worth of HP. It doesn't have actual HP. And the shield, or rather the shield thing here, this gives a 2-hit shield to any deployable near it. So as you can see, this thing has 2 gray shield, and that'll regenerate if you just kind of leave it alone for a while. So, yeah, there you have it. It looks like this game is about to end here because, it's just a custom game. I wasn't playing. It's going to expire. So what actually happens if a game goes to the full 20-minute mark, at least currently, is, let's say you fail to take the Nexus turret here. It actually still will swap the game type. or not the game type, the side you're on. So both sides, regardless of what happens, will definitely be able to play attack and defense once each. Now, I've never actually encountered what happens when neither side manages to take a Nexus. Like, that just seems really weird. So I don't know if you get a tie or both sides win or both sides lose or what, but that's an interesting thing to figure out, I suppose. Any case, I'm going to swap the video over here to the defending side, and I'll explain that, plus a couple more thoughts on the general, the gameplay mode as well. So, see you guys in a moment. Now, as for the defending team, you get access to a whole slew of weird defensive abilities, and I actually find these more interesting. I probably should have mentioned that, yeah, you don't actually start with summoner spells in this mode. You buy them, in a sense. That's what these defensive siege weapon things are. Now, on the defending side, as I mentioned earlier, you just have to hold out as long as possible, longer than the other side, essentially. You also start with a siege warp trinket, which I'll use here, as you can see. It takes a while. Now, you don't have to use it because, unlike the other side, you have the option of walking out if you want to. And when you actually are out in the field of battle, the trinket swaps out to a sight ward thing, which you can place like so. Now, just kind of showing off what these things do. For example, we have the surge or tower surge beam of ruination, which you use like this. So you click on a tower, you get access to it, and then you have 3 charges of the beam, which fire off like that. They don't do too much damage to minions. They're actually more so designed to fight or rather kill players. They do crap tons of damage to players. When I was using it yesterday, it tended to bug out and just not hit people sometimes, but that'll all get cleared up, I'm sure, eventually. So there's that. Here's the other feature here. The defending side, in theory, can push up their minions, and if they hit this sort of like the beachhead spawning area for the enemy team, you start getting points here. And if you get 15 of those, you get this thing called, I think it was the Obliterator Laser, which will shoot out and kill everything in the in any of the lanes. I believe it only works versus champions. I don't think it interacts with minions at all, but I can't actually remember, so we'll see in a second here, as I'm about to get it.
For my father, the king.
And it goes through all lanes, not just this lane here that I have pushed up like so. So that's going to charge up here, and it's going to go boosh. Oh yeah, okay, it does clear minions. Never mind. I couldn't quite remember. But yeah, this just outright kills things. It doesn't deal. Actually, I think it does deal a specific amount of damage, but it's so high that it's going to kill anything in the game. Or perhaps it just deals like 100% of their total HP or true damage or something like that. But in any case, it kills things. The only weird instance I've seen interact with it in terms of that, where it actually matters, is when you're playing a Lowy, and if you pull someone and do that soul conduit thing, or you pull a soul out and it's sitting there, it actually does seem to deal a certain amount of damage, because it dealt a crap ton of damage to the person who I had their soul pulled out. But, it obviously killed them. In any case, that's a very niche issue. It doesn't matter. Essentially, if it hits something or person and they don't get or if the person doesn't get the hell out of the lane, like go here into the sides, which incidentally, yeah, you can run around in here. Yeah, it'll kill them. Now, you can Vlad pool, you can Zonyas, you can Fizz pole and stuff out of it, so there is that. Okay, so another defensive sort of summoner thing, we have Firestone Bulwark. I'll show you this one off here. Use it like that. It makes the tower invulnerable for like, I think 6 seconds or something like that, and then it does this explosion thing there, and I think it was, what are the exact numbers, like 600 true damage? Oh, that's that one right there. Yeah, 650 true damage to everything nearby. And you can't keep spamming it if you're wondering. So yeah, there is like a 15-second cooldown on the tower. So you can't have a permanently invulnerable tower, because that would be kind of silly. So those are the 2 summoners that sort of interact with towers there. I'm going to next show off these ones here. The Flash Zone and Entropy Field. So these are things you actually just kind of place onto the ground as, as a character. So we're going to go here. So these are more similar to your traditional summoner spells, kind of. So Flash Zone's pretty crazy. You just put this thing down, and all your summoner spells turn into Flash. And you can just keep spamming it on a 1 second, or possibly less cooldown like that. So pretty interesting stuff, obviously very powerful. Now my other thing here is the Entropy Field. So we're going to place this one down here. And this is just, it'll stun all minions and it'll slow all champions in it. So it's not probably as impressive as the Flash Zone, but it, you know, depending on what champion you're playing, it can be extremely useful. You know, it's useful in general, but, you know, for example, like a champion who needs access to a slow just because they want to murder people around them, they don't have as much access to CC, that can be quite useful. So, yeah, that's that there. Aside from that, I guess that's kind of everything in terms of the defending side. Again, you're expected to lose while on the defending side, so, yeah, eventually the enemy does push in just through sheer, you know, attrition and pressure. And as you notice, the enemy team always has a cannon minion on their side. You don't get cannon minions, so there's that. And obviously, eventually your inhibitor will go down, and then the enemy team starts getting siege minions that flood into your base. Generally speaking, you just like the attacking team just kind of places down these those what are they called, the ballista, the siege ballista down, and they're very kind of difficult to get to, especially if they're kind of champions who control space, and you sort of have difficulty pushing in. They push them here, and you know you got a lot of Lowies sitting here, and then some kind of like Vel'Koz who are just pushing their way back continuously. It's a bit difficult to get to. Incidentally, I've kind of moved on away from... We sort of talked about everything there is to talk about on the defensive side. I think I covered all the stuff here. Yeah. So I'm just sort of talking about general thoughts on this mode. I've personally found it a lot of fun thus far. It's been really buggy on the PB, which has kind of made it a bit annoying, but, you know, it's a PB, and hopefully it gets straightened out pretty soon. Like, I've ran into, I think it's like 3 or 4 games in a row, where on the attacking side, your trinket can bug out, and you get stuck inside there, which is obviously very annoying, because you need to spend the next, you know, however long the game's going to last, trapped in your base, which is not a lot of fun, as I probably don't need to explain that. Aside from that, it kind of actually reminds me of a much more like extreme version of Heroes of the Storm, almost, where it just kind of like it's passive gold gain and stuff. Obviously, like Heroes of the Storm still needs soak and stuff like that, but it kind of focuses more on the action and just kind of strange abilities and stuff. So that's sort of interesting there. In terms of what sort of champions seem to be really good on this, it's one good way of thinking of it, or rather a slightly simplified, but it kind of gets the job done way of thinking of it, is if it's good in ARAM, it'll probably be good, pretty good here. So anything with like really good poke and sort of zone control and things that can kind of shove things out very easily, wave clear is another element to that, I suppose, is going to be very good in this. Things that scale very powerfully, since like you gain stupid amounts of gold, just for free at an extremely accelerated rate, will tend to work extremely well. You also have to, the other thing you have to keep in mind though is if you scale, like if it takes a really long time for your character to scale, that's the thing you have to consider as well, because it'll mean eventually, yeah, you will scale to that point where you can destroy everything on your own, well, not on your own, but like you can kind of hyper carry. You do have to keep in mind you are timed, so the faster you can hit that threshold, the better. So if you're taking too long to scale into being useful, that can kind of come back to bite you in the ass. But you know, it means at least, you know, you'll probably eventually win, sort of thing. Aside from that, I guess champions that tend to skip, or rather, champions who tend to be really good early, and then obviously like sort of like your traditional lane bully, lane stomp, but then doesn't do too well later on. Those don't tend to be quite as useful, simply because, well, you're skipping your strongest portion of the game. There really essentially is no early game, and there's no laning phase really. I mean, like, it's all laning phases, but not in your traditional sense. So you're basically bypassing that portion where you're expected to do well, and then ending up scaling exactly the same as everyone else. So sort of anti-carry types, people who do well overall or expect to do better than the enemy team by keeping them down. For example, like Urgot. I didn't find Urgot to be particularly good. Like, Urgot wasn't terrible, but he's not as good as he is in sort of like, you know, your standard games. Simply because everyone scales for free, it's impossible to deny people. Stuff like that. Aside from that, what else is there? Yeah, I guess it's just really overall, if people who have the option to be quite mobile, have good wave clear, sort of scale well, and sort of shove very easily. And have basically a very strong zones of control. Those tend to be the best. For example, probably one of the better, if not the best thing I've played was Azir. He was phenomenally strong. Assassins also tend to be pretty good, simply because there's no risk of falling behind ever. You're going to be always that, the kind of the assassin that gets super fed, and like your classic Rengar who just two shots people. Their Rengar, for example, if he doesn't do well, doesn't reach that stage. But in this game mode, it's impossible to not reach that stage. So you run out as Rengar, you destroy things. Kha'Zix was quite good, I've noticed. Fizz is really good. Echo is quite good. Even Jarvan, who like can function assassin-like. Obviously, he's more skill shot than a lot of those things, but he can be quite good. Incidentally, we're actually kind of winding down on time here. I'm kind of curious because we are going to hold out here. And remember, I was talking about earlier how I don't know what actually happens when both teams successfully defend. So, I mean, I guess I may as well sit here and make sure we don't actually lose anything. We only got a minute 30 seconds to go. I just kind of need to think about things to talk about while we're doing that. I suppose I probably should mention again that, yeah, if you happen to catch this video right as I upload it, I will be, live streaming for today and probably a few more days. Because, again, I am having fun with this. I probably won't get tired of it for a couple more days. So, unless I keep running into bugs. Those are quite annoying. What else? It was mainly just getting stuck in here. I was running into a lot of crash bugs because it's PvE, but that's standard PvE. It's nothing inherent to this game mode. Did we get an obliterator? What? Oh, no, it was an old message. What was another bug? Yeah, we had the Beam of Ruination. For some reason, like it would clearly hit people according to the the hitbox, and they wouldn't take damage, and that was quite annoying. I've lost a few towers based on that. But again, hopefully all this stuff gets cleared up. What is... Oh, support. Supports tend... Some of the support... It's interesting. Some of the supports are pretty good. Some of them not so much. Basically, it's kind of almost like the utility... Very utility-heavy supports that don't normally... that do well without gold. Like, traditionally do well without the gold. Almost like a very normal kind of support. Those don't do so well because obviously, your scaling is going to waste. But a lot of supports actually do quite well if they're actually given the chance to have money. So that's kind of interesting to see. For example, Alistair actually does quite well with money. He can be quite scary. Oh, here we go. So it considers it a victory if both sides defend. I'm not sure how that works, because I mean it is a custom game with just me in it, so I don't know if that works. But according to this, I won. I don't know how that would show up for anyone on the enemy team, but that's kind of interesting. In any case, let me finish up my thoughts there. I suppose, yeah, Alistair did well. Who was another support who does well with money? Well, Zyra, obviously. She's being played very heavily as support. That was quite handy. I should probably mention this, since people always immediately seem to think Heimerdinger in this mode, because it's kind of the obvious defensive turret guy kind of choice, and endless sort of wave or lane pressure that keeps pushing up. Heimerdinger is very good in this mode. I played him. I didn't have a lot of fun. He doesn't sort of win the game in a very flashy sort of way. It's very Japanese would call it Jimmy. In English it's sort of like it's just generally not a very flashy way or a particularly exciting way of winning the game. It's just kind of like this World War I, hold the trenches or slowly push the trenches forward kind of thing. And you win in a very sort of grindy sort of fashion. I didn't have a lot of fun with it, but it did well. So there is that. In fact, why don't we just go to a list of champions for a second here? So I can figure out what the hell it was, because there were a couple supports. For example, Bard was pretty lame. Bard didn't seem to do much. Thresh didn't do very much. He wasn't very good. Although allegedly someone told me they're planning on making Meeps scale better, or just make it so you don't need Meeps or something, a lot like in Earth. Yeah. I suppose any support that can deal a lot of damage is going to be quite good. Janna would probably be alright. I can see that being decent. I should actually, in fact, I'm probably going to test that today. So again, I'm going to plug the stream, twitch.tv/Ponce, in the description below. If you want to check it out, I'll probably play Janna at some point today. No guarantees, though. Oh, tanks. Tanks actually are quite good in a weird sort of way. I'll get to that in a minute, and there's a very specific, sort of long-winded reason for that. So, yeah, I'm probably going to end the video on the notion of sort of tanks, because that's a discussion that bleeds into something else, which I'm not going to fully expound upon. Oh, that's what it was. Sona is actually really good in this mode. Sona is actually I think people underestimate Sona a lot. She is actually quite scary in terms of her damage when she starts getting money. It's actually pretty funny if you take Sona in the top lane and don't, like, she's really weak in lane if you know how to burst her down and, you know, gank her and stuff. But if she actually does win the lane and does well and gets fed, she does scary damage. It's really, really actually good. But anyway, yeah, tanks actually end up being quite good in this mode. Unlike, well, I'm not going to say unlike, but I don't like playing tanks in solo queue. And again, I don't want to get into something that's completely off topic, but essentially the reason is I like the tank playstyle, but I don't like playing solo queue because tanks don't hard carry, because what ultimately wins games is damage. And you can run into the problem of solo queue like normal games, simply because there are oftentimes people are incapable of right clicking on people, or they just get wrecked in lane and then they never get any kind of damage. And ultimately, even if you do well as a tank, you don't hard carry because no one is dealing damage, because damage is how you win the game. In this mode, since like people don't have a chance to screw up because they can't be denied, it's much more likely that you will have someone on your team who actually deals damage. So you can kind of do the full tank role and just gonna get crazy fed tanky levels. So like, since you have all that money, you become nigh unkillable, and you actually do, you know, it's almost guaranteed that you will have a backline backing you up to deal that damage from behind. So I've actually been having a good amount of fun with tanks and stuff, unlike in solo queue. So anyway, that's kind of it there. Again, I'm off to go play that now. If you happen to catch this video right as it uploads. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Again, if you're interested, the description below contains the link to my stream. So goodbye. Hopefully you found this video informative or something.